In this video, I'm going to demonstrate some basic Windows command prompt commands that every developer and Windows power user should know. Now, if you're using Mac or Linux, you also have a terminal in those operating systems, and some of the commands are the same as what I'm going to show you. Some of them are not. Now, how do I open the command prompt? The easiest way is to hit the Windows key and type CMD, which is short for command, which gives you the command prompt. You hit enter, and it's going to open the command prompt. Now I'm going to make this a little bigger so we can see it, and then I'm going to do something else here as well. I am going to open the Windows Explorer, and the way you do that is you hit Windows plus the E key. And then I'm going to navigate to my C drive. And when you first open the command prompt, you're going to see the current directory that you're in. And usually it will default to open to your user directory. My name's Eric. Users Eric is my home directory. Now, I've selected the root C over here in the Windows Explorer. And you can see that it starts with the letter C over here on the prompt. Now, how do I get to the root so that these will match up? Well, there's a command called change directory, and the shorthand for it is CD. And that one's pretty easy to remember. CD, change directory. And then you hit a space. Now, where do you want to go? Well, I would like to go to the root of the drive, and there's a shortcut for that. If you just hit a backslash and then hit enter, you are now in the root drive. And notice how the prompt changed. When you're working with the command prompt, the prompt is always going to tell you where you are currently, because a lot of these commands, they involve executing right here where you are, or you're going to type a path to something that you want to manipulate. Now, the next question is, how do we see what is in this directory? Well, there's a command. It's called dir, which is short for directory. And when I type dir, you're going to see that it prints out the same list of files and folders that we see in the Windows Explorer. Now it's out of order because it organizes these alphabetically, and in the Windows Explorer, it does folders and then files. So this csv.log file is out of order. But everything we can see in one place, we see in the other. And I'm going to keep this Windows Explorer open because as I'm making changes using the command prompt, I just want you to keep in mind that everything you can do with the keyboard in the command prompt, you can also do in the File Explorer. So next, let's create a demo directory for this video. Now, if you want to create a directory, you want to make it. So mkdir is the command, and that's how I remember it, make directory. Put a space, and then you give it the name of your directory. So I'm going to say demo_folder. And now when I hit enter, if it doesn't work, it's going to give me an error. But if it does work, you usually get nothing back. So I'm going to hit enter. Nothing came back. But if you look over here in the Windows Explorer, there is a new folder here called demo folder. Now I would like to go into that folder. In the Windows Explorer, I would just double click it. And now I'm in the folder. Over here, we need to change the directory, which we already said was CD. So another way to use CD is to type CD space and then the name of the directory you would like to enter. And now you see the prompt changed again, and we are in the demo folder. This folder is empty. So if we type dir, you'll see that there are no files or folders in this directory. Now we can start playing a little bit. First, I'm going to introduce a command called echo. All echo does is print out whatever you give it. It's like an echo in a cave. If I shout into a cave, I shout some words, those words are going to echo back to me. So if I just type echo hello world, it's going to print hello world back to me. We're also getting to the bottom of the screen here. I would like to clear the screen. So I'm going to introduce another command real quick, cls, clear screen. Now it's clean. We're back at the top. Now continuing with echo. While doing echo hello world isn't very useful, I can redirect the output from the screen into a file. And the way you do this is you use an angle bracket pointing in the direction of the file where you want it to go. And then we give it a file name, test1.txt. Now, when I hit enter, it's going to create this file, and you're going to see it show up in the Windows Explorer. And there it is. And because we echoed the text into the file, if we open this file, we see the text, hello world. And now, if we type dir, we'll see that our directory is updated. We see the test1.txt file, just like we see in the File Explorer. Now, what else can we do here? We can do some more fun stuff. If I would like to print out the contents of a text file, I can do that with the command type. So if I say type test1.txt, it's going to open the file and it's going to output the contents, which is hello world. That's where we put the stuff before. Now, let's add a subfolder. So we'll say make dir demo2. And now we see that a subfolder appeared in our Explorer. And now let's say echo hello2 to, and we'll say demo2 / and then we'll give it the file name. And we'll call this one test2.txt. And when we hit enter, again, no errors. But if we change the directory to demo2 and hit dir, you can see that test2.txt is there. So this is another important concept about the terminal. By default, in the first file, we echoed and we did not give it a path. We only gave it a file name. And when you do that, that means execute the command right here where we are. A lot of commands can also take a directory path and a file name. So if you ever find yourself in a terminal or a command prompt and you need to reference something that is not in the same folder as you, you can just type the path and do that. Now, we went down directories, so we've been going into subfolders. Now, I want to show you how to go back up. So first, let's clear the screen so it's nice and clean. If we want to change the directory, whether we're going up or down in the hierarchy, we're going to use cd. Now, cd, you can use the shorthand ... And ... means go up one level. So now you can see we went to demo folder, and this is the equivalent in the Explorer of clicking demo folder in the top. That takes us up a directory. Now let's go back down into that directory. So we'll go back down into demo2. If I want to go up multiple directories, I can. I just need to count the segments. So if I wanted to get back to the C drive and I wasn't going to use my / shortcut, I could do cd ... That will go up 2 directories. Same thing here. Let's go ahead and go into the demo folder. And let's make a new directory called demo3. Now we see that appears. And let's go into demo3. Now what if I want to go to demo2? I can type cd, and I need to walk up a directory, and then my /, and then I want to walk down into demo2. So a lot of this pathing is just remembering where you are and walking each step back. So if we do that, you see the directory changed. I'm now in demo2. So I went up, and then I went back down. Now another thing we can do is we can type in the full path. So I can say c:\/ demo folder demo3. And that will take us directly to the demo3 folder. Now, when you start writing code and working on web applications and working in the terminal, you're going to hear two terms. You're going to hear absolute path and relative path. What I just showed you with the C:\\/ is the absolute path. The absolute path starts from the drive letter and gives you the full path. What I did before that with cd:\\demo2 is called a relative path because it's relative to where you currently are. And in most programming, you want to favor relative paths because your application code might be installed on somebody else's computer, and they might not have the same drive letters. They might not have the same folder structure as you. So usually in applications, you will be using relative paths because that lets you copy and paste an entire directory with subfolders and everything like that. And as long as your code in that directory is using relative pathing, it should work on anybody's machine. The other thing you need to be careful of, especially if you're sharing things between Mac, Linux, and Windows, is that in Windows, you use the \/ for folders. In Mac and Linux, you use the \. This is super annoying. However, most file and folder libraries that you will use in coding, they'll correct this for you. So you don't really have to think about it in practice if you use the right libraries. But just be aware that \/ and / are different across the different operating systems. Now let's go ahead and do a few more tricks. Let's go back up to our demo folder and let's clear the screen. We have this test1.txt file. Let's make a copy of it. Now the command to copy in Windows is copy. That makes it really easy. And we can say test1.txt and then a space, and then we can say, what do we want the copied file to be named? And let's just call it test1-copy.txt. And if we run this, it says one file copy. Sometimes you do get output, sometimes you don't. It'd be nice if it was consistent. But you can see over in the File Explorer, we now have test1-copy.txt, and we can hit dir, and we can see that test1-copy.txt and test1.txt. This exactly matches the Windows Explorer. Let's clear the screen. What if I want to see the subdirectories and the files in them the same way we do in the Windows Explorer as a hierarchy? Well, this is a fun command. It's called tree. And if I type tree, you'll see here we are in the demo folder, and beneath that, we see demo2 and demo3, but we don't see the files. Now, here's another concept. There are arguments, parameters that can come with commands. So if I say tree/F, it will print the tree, but it will also show the files. If I do that, you see here are the two files in the current directory. There's the demo2 folder. It has test2.txt in it, which remember we put it there. And then demo3 has no files in it, and it's empty. So tree is pretty cool. /F if you want to see the files. Leave it off if you only want to see the directories. Now the magic question is, Eric, how did you know that? Well, I read the documentation. And the interesting thing about command prompts is they usually include the documentation with the commands. So if I forgot how to use tree, I could say tree/?, and that means help me. And we can now see the description of the command graphically displays the folder structure of a driver path. And then you can see that it tells us how to use it. Now, we know by default it's going to look at the current directory, but you can see that it does allow us to specify a path. And then it tells us the two flags. We use /F, and that says display the names of the files in each folder. And /A is a command for the text using ASCII instead of extended characters. Don't worry about that. That's something that's beyond beginner stuff. We don't care about that right now. Now, let's go ahead and clear the screen. And let's do the same thing with directory. If we say dir/?, this one's a little bigger. It displays the list of files and subdirectories in a directory. And then it shows how to use it, which is a big long string of text. But what you can see here is that there are a lot of attributes like /b, /c, /d, and it gives you all of these options. Let's try one of them. /d, same as wide, but files are list sorted by column. Okay, let's try that. So we'll say dir/d. Notice how the formatting changed. Now it lists the directories with square brackets around them, and it lists the files, and it does it in a horizontal column format, which is different than what we got using the command without it. And as you explore command prompts, there are a lot of these different options that you can use with your commands to format things exactly the way you want. Now, do you need to memorize them all? No, you don't. The ones that you use most frequently, you're going to memorize over time because you're using them. Now let's go ahead and clear the screen, and we'll show a few more commands, and then we'll wrap things up here. So we showed how to create a file. We showed how to print it using type. We showed how to copy it. Let's show how to rename it. So let's go ahead and rename, which is ren, test1 copy.txt, and then a space, and we'll give it the new file name. And we'll call this one test3.txt. And again, as soon as we hit enter, we see the File Explorer updated. We have renamed the file. And this is the same as right-clicking here on a file and saying rename. It's the same command under the hood. Everything you can do in the Explorer, you can do in the command prompt. It's just a matter of memorizing these commands. What else can we do? We can move a file or folder. And this is where you need to be familiar with those pathing, relative path versus absolute path. So let's go ahead and move test3.txt. And now where do we want to put it? I want to put it in the demo3 directory with the same name. Just like that. And a move is different than a copy. A copy will create a copy of the file. Move will just move it. Now, let's go ahead and delete a file. So I'm going to say delete, del, test1.txt. Off it goes. It's gone. Now let's go up a directory. And to wrap things up here, let's clean up. Let's get rid of this demo folder. Now the way you do that is you say remove directory, and you give it the folder name, demo folder. However, there is a safety feature built into this command, and you're going to see that when I hit enter here. It's going to say, hey, that directory is not empty. So by default, the command prompt will protect you. It won't let you delete a directory unless it's empty. Now, like most commands, if I say remdir ? You'll see here we have some flags. We have some attributes. /s removes all directories and files in the specified directory in addition to the directory itself, used to remove the entire directory tree. And /q is quiet mode, and it will not ask if it's okay to remove a directory tree. So let's go ahead and say remdir demo folder /s. And now it's going to say, hey, are you sure you want to do that? Now I'm going to say no, just for the sake of demonstration. And I'm going to use the other one, remdir demo folder. And you can use multiple flags in a lot of these commands. So I'm going to say /s/q. Now it's going to remove all the directories and files in the directory, and /q is quiet mode. So it's not going to ask me if I'm sure, it's just going to do it. So I'm going to say, okay, go ahead and do that. Now the directory's gone, and look, the Windows Explorer actually said, hey, I'm not in a valid place. It doesn't exist anymore. So I'm going to go up to the next folder that exists, which is my C drive. Everything is tied together. And with this, you now understand how to open the command prompt, navigate folders, create directories, access files, copy, move, delete, remove directories, remove files. These are all the basics for getting started in the command prompt and the terminal. Happy coding.